Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. We hope that you enjoy today's sermon by our pastoral staff at Christpoint Church. We also want you to know that if you have any questions, prayer requests, or need information on any of our ministry opportunities, you can email us at info@christpoint.church. We love you and we are praying that this will be the best year yet. Welcome home.
Heaven is our prize, and I said it yesterday, and I've said it 1,000 times. God is not so small, God is not so minute that He would create life for it to only exist these little amount of years that we spend in it. Life is eternal. So we're either going to spend it in heaven or we're going to spend it in hell. So yeah, we're going to talk about hell once in a while too here. So we're either going to spend it in heaven or we're going to spend it in hell, and we're going to waste the life that He's given us on a no choice. I want you to know, a no choice to train means you don't make the Olympics. A no choice on where you'll spend eternity means you'll spend it in hell. So it's not like I'm going to wait and make my decision later. This is an impulse buy, y'all. Do it now, don't do it later. It's like buying the peanuts on the way out of the market. They put them up there for you to buy as an impulse buy. This is an impulse buy. I know the Lord is speaking to me right now, and I want to make sure I'm going to spend my eternity in heaven and not in hell. Because I have this life to make that decision. There's only one prize. It's heaven and it's gold. And here's what Paul says. Everyone has the ability to obtain it. Everyone. It's not elusive. It's not an elite club. It's not a status above everyone else. It is literally obtainable for everyone. Doesn't matter who it is. Everyone. So don't worry. This is what Jesus said to Peter. Don't worry about what John's doing. Peter says, what about John? Well, don't worry in John chapter 21. Don't worry about what John is doing. So it doesn't matter what John's doing. You need to focus on your race, stay in your lane, run the race that's before you, because that's the only prize. You're not going to win someone else's prize. So that's your only prize. So that's the one race that matters the most. Now let's look at the two mental challenges to every race. The two mental challenges to every race are location and resolve. This is hard for me to do with a mic in my hand. So if you're visiting with us, I don't like these. But so we have location and we have resolve. These are the two mental challenges. So a swimmer or a sprinter, they really like to choose their best lanes, because if you get in the middle of the pool and you let anybody get in front of you, then you have to not only fight the water, yourself, you have to fight the turbulence from them. So lane choice is very important, but here's the thing. Location doesn't win or lose races. Location's not going to win or lose races. You're either going to be atop the podium or you're not. Location can have a direct result on your level of success mentally. In other words, it can give you a mental advantage. You feel better about being in lane 8. You feel better about being in lane 2. You feel better about not being beside the guy who is just equally as fast as you are. So you feel better about the lane choice. It will give you a mental advantage, but resolve will determine your level of commitment. Your resolve will determine your level of commitment. I'm going to show what this looks like in 1 Kings chapter 21. This just jumped out at me last week, and I thought, you know what? I know it's kind of weird to jump back in here, and this is kind of an odd story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Some of you may know, we're going to look kind of from verse 1 through 16. Some of you may know the story about Naboth. Some of you don't have a clue, and that's okay. So here's how it reads. Now Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard, and it was in Jezreel. Duh, he's a Jezreelite. So beside the palace of the king Ahab of Samaria. So dude has a garden. Dude has basically a vineyard, a garden, and he has it next to the king's palace. So here's what the king says. I want your location. Location, location, location. You know, that's what they say. What's the most important thing in retail? What's the most important thing in real estate? Location, location, location. So after this, Ahab said to Naboth, the king said to dude, says, give me your vineyard that I may have it for a vegetable garden, because it's near my house. So far, it's a reasonable offer. And it continues as a reasonable offer. I will give you a better vineyard for it. In other words, I want to compensate you and give you something better for it. I'll give you a better one. How? And then he even says, hey, I'll even pay you exactly what it's worth. So I'm not going to try to cheat you. I want to give you fair value for it. And he thinks he's going to get this. So the king, being the king, says, I want something that doesn't belong to me, and I'm going to give you something better for it. And in verse 3, Naboth says to Ahab, Naboth says to the king, the Lord forbid that I should give you the inheritance of my fathers. So here's where it starts to get interesting. In verse 4, Ahab went into his house, and let me just put parentheses here and put it in good old Sparta, Tennessee Southern terms. So this is how I read it. Ahab went into his house, and he pitched a fit. I'm telling you, read it. We're going to say, and he pitched a fit. So this is what he does. He goes into his house, vexed and sullen because of what Naboth the Jezreelite had said to him, for he had said, I will not give you the inheritance of my fathers. And he lay down on his bed and he turned his face away and he wouldn't eat any food. I'll show you. Who's he going to show? He's going to starve himself to death. He's going to lay there and get sick. You know, who are you showing? You? But then all of a sudden, men, there's always a Jezebel. So all of a sudden, Jezebel comes in verse 5, and she says to him, why so upset? What's wrong with you? Why won't you eat? Why won't you get up? And this is what he says. This is his fit in verse 6. Because I spoke to Naboth, and he's the Jezreelite, and I said to him, I want your vineyard, and I want to give you some money for it, and I want to trade you something for it, and he said he wouldn't do it. I mean, this is a fit. He's pitching a fit. So Jezebel, his wife, says to him, now I want to show you something. She says, do you not govern Israel? In other words, are you not the king? You're not acting like the king. Are you not the king? She says, verse 6, she says, are you not the king? She says, where am I? Verse 7, are you not the king? Do you not govern Israel? Arise and eat bread and let your heart be cheerful. I'll take care of it. This is, number one, this is the first pagan queen of Israel. This is the first time anybody other than a Jewish descendant was in authority over Israel. Number two, this is the first time we find that a woman is in authority and not the man. So we find that she's really running the show. So basically, I'm going to tell you how this goes so we won't spend as much time with it on just right here. But she sends a letter. She says, I'll take care of it. She sends a letter. She says, call a fast, call a meeting, make it Naboth's area, invite him, and invite two worthless. Now, we've seen this before. We've seen it in Judges where Jephthah is concerned. Worthless people mean that they'll do anything. Get two worthless people, two worthless men to make false accusations against Naboth, and then tell him, say, hey, you've sinned, you've rejected the Lord, you've rejected the king, and they take him out and they stone him. So let's just jump all the way to verse 15 and 16. As soon as Jezebel heard that Naboth had been stoned and was dead, so they reported back, said, we did what you said. So they did this. As soon as she found out he was dead, Jezebel said to Ahab, hey, get up, quit pitching a fit. Get up, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth because he's dead. He's dead, he's not alive anymore, and the thing is yours. And this is what Ahab says. Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, and then he arose happily, and he goes down to his vineyard, and he takes possession of it. So in other words, he took what didn't belong to him, and she had someone killed, which this happened a lot during a course of time in the Dark Ages. So let's just jump real quick to Ahab. Ahab wanted location, location, location. He wanted what didn't belong to him. Location doesn't win races. Verse 3, this is what Naboth, this is why I want to key in on the resolve. Naboth said, the Lord forbid that I should give you the inheritance. I want to show you why. Naboth was not sentimental to the property. It wasn't that he was going to rob his offspring. This is why. He was obeying the word of the Lord. In Leviticus chapter 25, verse 23, this is what he says. The land, this is what God says to the people, the land shall not be sold, for the land is mine. So this is what Naboth's saying. I can't do it. It's not mine. It's only the Lord's, and the Lord has allotted it to me, and it's not mine to give away to you. or to sell to you. Even if I wanted to, O great king, I can't do it. I need to obey the Lord, and you really need to obey the Lord. But he ignored the Lord. So according to Scripture, according to Jewish law, the land belonged to God, and it was given as an allotment. It was given as favor. It was given as for them to sojourn upon. It was not Naboth's to sell. Location doesn't win races. Resolve wins races. Let me show you what Naboth did. Naboth could have chosen to locate himself in the favor of the king. Instead, he chose to resolve himself, to commit himself to the word of the Lord. He chose rather the good location. Location doesn't win races. Resolve wins races. He chose to commit himself over the king's desires. Naboth's allotment of the land would have passed to his children. Now, I want to show you something. Naboth's allotment of the land, it would have passed to his children. Here's my question to you. Are we selling off bits and pieces of our godly inheritance? Are we selling off bits and pieces of our godly inheritance so we can locate ourselves closer to the world? Are we selling off bits and pieces so we can locate ourselves closer to the world and we can be more politically correct? Because if God calls it sin, then we can't wash it down and make it anything else. We can, in our minds, be more accepting, but if God calls it sin, we can't wash it down. So, Naboth's allotment, he couldn't sell off. I'm not going to sell off what God gave me to give to my children. So are we selling off bits and pieces of our godly inheritance so we can locate ourselves closer to the world? Every attractive enticement has a godly resolve as an alternative choice attached to it. So in other words, we can either choose to locate ourselves nearer the world, or we can choose to resolve ourselves and commit ourselves to the Lord. This one's not always going to be popular. This one's going to cost us. It cost Naboth his life. This one's a lot of times going to cost us something that has to be killed. Something that has to be killed in us. In other words, I'm not winning races unless I kill something that's dragging me down. So it's always easy to locate ourselves nearest the world. So, one more thing. When we sell off pieces of our Christian walk, we remove the main ingredient for success, or for our children to be successful in their walk with the Lord. Let me just show you what this looks like. If you are half committed to the Lord, your children more than likely are not going to be more committed than you. So with every half committal, then we get a quarter committal. So in other words, in one generation, we've gone from look what we did to our children to I don't know what we've done to our children. So this is the thing. The main ingredient, when we remove the main ingredient, we remove the main ingredient for success. Remember, races aren't won because of lane choices. Races are won in the transitions. Let me just tell you this real quick and we'll move on. Transitions are a direct result of resolve and commitment and training. An Olympic swimmer, there can be 10 Olympic swimmers that are within 1/10 of a second of one another. So how is it that one or two stands atop a podium on a regular basis? I'm going to show you why. What makes that one or two stand out? It's the transition. It's the transition that makes them stand out. The transition at the wall, the transition in the turn, the transition in the relay, the transition off of the platform. Because I'm going to tell you something. All of these guys, all of these girls can sprint in a freestyle pretty equally. But there's going to be 2 or 3 of them. After that first turn, all of a sudden one pops out and she's ahead. How did she do that? Because her transition, her resolve to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of hours to perfect that turn. Because that turn makes the difference in 1/10 and 2/10 of a second. Maybe even 1/1300ths of a second. That makes the difference in who touches the wall first. Who gets gold, who gets silver, and who doesn't get anything. The winner spends thousands of hours perfecting the transition. This is our resolve. They spend thousands of hours, and Becca preached the sermon, the handoff, the relay, and perfected the relay. They run hard in practice all the time, but if they don't get this handoff right, then they're out of the race. It's over. You can't drop the baton. So, our resolve This is our resolve. This is what it looks like to train and to win the race that's set before us. No one ever trained to come in 3rd or 7th or 8th. No one ever trains. When these people train as an Olympic trainer or Olympic athlete, they train to win. That's what you do. If you don't envision the win, you can't. Who wants to do that? They never train to come in down the road. So they train to win. This is our goal. Our resolve is to train to win. So, run your race, because it's gold or it's nothing. The little things matter. The Bible reading matters. The prayer matters. The church attendance matters. The learning and the growing in the grace and knowledge of the Lord. All of this matters. It's kind of hard to run a race. It's kind of hard to be productive. It's kind of hard to be all in with the Lord when we're half in and half committed to the little things. So now let's look at the 3 aspects of every race. These are the 3 aspects of every race. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. Now this is back to Paul. And this is one of the last things he's reporting before his death. This is what he says. He says, look, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Notice the 3 things he says here. I have fought, I have finished, and I have kept. I have fought, I have finished, and I have kept. Every Christian walk is a battle. Don't pretend like you don't. Your Christian walk is a battle. Everyone is a fight. Everyone has their own individual fight, and it's your fight to fight. I can't fight yours for you. I can help you. I can provide you with some ammunition. I can give you some support, but I can't fight your battle. Every Christian walk is a battle, and no one ever successfully coasted to victory. No one coasts to victory. I heard, now I didn't see it, but I heard in one of the races that I think it was a girl, what she did was they have to run these heats, and the winners, the top 2 and 3 from each one of these heats will compete for the gold. So because they have too many. So all they got to do is just finish 1 or 2, maybe 3. And then they move on and then they do another heat, and then they get down to 8 runners. So what this person does, she's very fast, she's running. She gets to the end and she lets up. She don't want to exert too much energy. She lets up and coast, and when she did, someone passes her and she's out. She's trained for 5 years. She's trained for 5 years, and she coasts, and she doesn't even get into the qualifying. No one ever successfully coasted to victory, y'all. Getting up from this altar on fire is really not going to help you if you don't finish the race on fire. So a lot of people get up and, man, I'm just all excited about the Lord. And I'm going to tell you, I've been doing this a long time. I'm going to tell you, you want to show me something? Show me the end. Show me the fire in the end. Because the fire in the beginning, everybody has. The fire in the end, few people have. So you want to show me something? Let's continue to walk in the fire. You say, well, the honeymoon period wears off. It does for everybody. But we've got to rekindle that fire on a daily basis. We've got to find new excitement for reading the Word, for serving the Lord, for knowing who we are in Him. We've got to find that new excitement every day. The mercies are renewed every morning. So when you get up from this altar of fire, it's not going to impress anybody until you finish it on fire. It's not going to get a race won if you don't finish it on fire. Paul said he fought, he finished, he kept. We will only be as successful in the race as we are to these 3 elements. Paul laid it right out. If we have less faith when we finish as we did when we started, I don't think we're going to win. I'm sorry. I'm thinking we've automatically caused ourselves not to get gold. If we stop fighting halfway in, we're going to get knocked out. If we give up before we're finished, we're not going to win. The formula is simple. Here's the formula. Go as hard in the end as we did in the beginning, and we'll win. It's not a complicated formula. It's a don't give up formula. It's a don't wear out, don't wear thin formula. You know, it's a continuing formula. But here's what you may say, but you don't understand. People don't understand what I have to go through. Okay? People don't understand what I'm going through. Here's another one. But you don't understand or know how you don't understand how I was treated. You don't understand my childhood. You don't understand how I was treated as a child. Here's another one. You don't know how hard it is for me. You don't know how hard it is for me. I have aches and pains. I have this. I have that. I have arthritis. I have this going on in my life. You don't know how hard it is for me. I'm going to give you the answer to all of these issues and all of these things that we can create and excuses. I'm going to give you the answer in 3 words. The Apostle Paul. That's the answer I'm going to give you. I'm going to show you the person that I'm talking about. He was stoned. He was blinded. He was persecuted. He was whipped, hated, imprisoned, shipwrecked. He was arrested. He was tried. He was killed. And he still saw fit to write you a letter of encouragement from a jail cell. He didn't write it from a luxury hotel. He wrote it from a jail cell. And he wrote you a letter of encouragement to keep running. Don't stop running. The race is not finished. And you know what he's saying? Just wrapping it all up in one sentence. You can do this. You can do this. I promise you, you can do this. So let me give you an example, just in case. It clarified something for me, and I want to make sure you guys don't. No one's in here with this mentality. I spoke to a man last month, and he was walking his dog, and it was on the corner, and we were in Florida, and he says, "You're the pastor, right?" So of course, everybody, I don't know if they just know that when they see us at that house, or if they just see the darkest guy in the neighborhood. They talk about you when you're, But anyway, he says, "You're the pastor, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he begins to start telling me why he feels like that he has worked or found favor with God. He begins to start telling me, I'm not a very religious man, but this is what we're finding a lot lately. You know why we're finding this? It's because we're in the end of the end times. And when you're in the end of the end times, you better stay in the battle. You better stay in the battle zone, because, what does it gain a man to profit a man to gain the world and lose his own soul? So let's fight until the end. He tells me, he says, I did a good thing. I don't go to church. But I was raised in a certain belief, and I did a good thing today, and I believe God's very pleased with me for doing this, and I think that I have pleased Him enough to get into heaven. He found a dog in a locked car in a parking lot in Florida with it 95 degrees, and he called the authorities, and they freed the dog. Literally. I'm like, I don't even know what to say to this. You think that you're a good deed. Now, granted, I think you did a really good thing. But I'm going to tell you something. The dog's not going to get you to heaven. I kind of did this. I'm like, okay, we've got a minute. The Word tells us that we're saved by grace, not by works, lest any man should boast. Jesus is the forgiver of our sins. The dogs will come and go. I promise you, your dogs will come and go. If the dog died in the car, it wouldn't make any difference in his salvation. None whatsoever. He did a good thing for the family. They might have just forgotten. But here's the thing. We're not going to get into heaven because we are a good person. We're not going to win races because you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I used to be a pretty good runner. I never was invited to run in anything Olympic in my life. I wasn't even fast enough to beat the people in this county. Just because you're a good person doesn't mean you're going to automatically go to heaven. We can't get to heaven based on merit. It's not going to happen. See, your race is not over just because you did a good thing. Your race isn't over just because you attend church once in a while. And I'm going to give you the statistic of the average church attender in 2021 is 1 week out of 6. That's the average church attender. That's the person who thinks they go to church on a regular basis. Is 1 out of every 6 weeks they show up. And I'm going to tell you, just because you attend church once in a while, you're not grandfathered into heaven. Just because you used to be excited about the Lord. Please, let's stop riding on old anointing. Well, we had, man, I was 8 years old, and we had camp, and stop riding on the 8-year-old experience and start making new experiences with the Lord today. You know what? You don't have the same friends you did when you were 8 years old. We have a different lifestyle at this age than we did at that age, and stop living in what used to be. It's start living in the right now. Faith is only good intentions, y'all. I'm telling you, faith is only good intentions if you fail to keep it until the race is completely over. Because Paul says, I kept the faith. I didn't forfeit the faith. I didn't give up the faith. I didn't transfer the faith. I kept the faith. I kept fighting. And let me tell you something. You can't run someone else's race. You can't run in someone else's lane. You're custom designed for your race and only your race. So what matters most? We say this all the time. I didn't coin this phrase. The founder of Starbucks did. What matters most? Everything. Everything. Everything matters most. What matters most? Do I give my heart to the Lord and then quit smoking? Do I quit smoking, then give my heart to the Lord? Do I give my heart to the Lord and quit going out on my wife and having affairs? Or do I do that? What matters most? Everything. Everything. Just get what's right, and let's start. Hello again, and thank you for tuning in. I pray that today's sermon has spoken to your heart and has ministered to you well. We just want you to know that we have 2 locations, one at our Sparta campus, our main campus at Sparta on the square in Sparta, and our second campus is at Smithfield behind Ace Hardware. And we would love for you to call Christpoint Church your church home. And if you're viewing this and you can't get in to church and you feel like you want to be a part of the church, then you can always be a part of the church. Just drop us a note and let us know that you enjoy being on board with us. And if you'd like to give and be a part of the ministry, then you can do that by just sending a check to one of the locations at 614 Murphy Street, Smithfield, 13 Liberty Square in Sparta, and we'll get you on the road. We just love you so much. And you can download the Christpoint Church of Tennessee app, and you can give online. So we are real people. We're living real lives, and we're serving a real God. And we just want to tell everyone, welcome home. We're so glad that you tuned in with us. Welcome home.